As we begin a new working week, it is imperative to let you know that the fight against insecurity is a continuous one here in Nigeria. It would equally have to deal with a new sect that engages in international human trafficking uncovered in Kaduna State by the intelligence services. The new sect, which is recruiting members from within and outside Nigeria, is named ACHAD, or ACHAD, like some would love to call it, which is ACHAD Life Mission International. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Now, the leader of the sect has been identified as one Mr. Yokana, who resides in Jos, Plateau State, with its headquarters in Kaduna. The Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, says that the new sect doesn't believe in Islam or Christianity, but preaches the restoration of African traditions and support for humanity. As if that isn't worrying enough, Amnesty International recently stated in a tweet that a mass burial was held for the 147 victims of Boko Haram's horrific Sunday, 12th January slaughter of farmers and fishermen at Dumba near Baga, Borno State. Nigeria's insecurity seems to be ripe for a state of emergency.
Well, joining us this morning to speak on this is retired DSS Director and security expert, Mr. Dennis Amachree joins us. Thank you so much for being here this morning once again. It seems that we're making, progress by saying we're making progress 2 steps forward, but then again, it seems we're going 10 steps back. One, we do have a new sect that seems to be very, very dangerous here. They don't believe in Islam, like we've seen the recent sects. They don't believe in Christianity. Rather, they say they base their belief on African traditions. And I wonder if African tradition allows them to go ahead and engage in human trafficking. Maybe they're going back to the medieval times, maybe during the time of our forefathers. But then again, welcome. We'd like you to share your thoughts on this new sect that has been identified, finding its place once again, not in the southeast or wherever, but focused on the borders of the north.
Good morning. I am very, very worried for one thing, and that is we don't know much about this sect. The ACHAD Life Mission International. Immigration came out to tell the country that this is a new sect and they are involved in human trafficking. And then, of course, that's all. They know the leader who lives in Jos. And then, of course, the headquarters is in Kaduna. And no arrests were made. And that's my problem right there, because when you discover sex like this, you don't just announce it. Why don't investigate it? Why don't see if they are really a bad sect, make arrests, interrogate them, and then tell the country. I don't know the hurry with which the immigration is trying to do this, because come to think about it, Nigeria is a secular state, and then people have freedom of religion, and although it is not absolute to have freedom of religion, but at least investigate and know more about it. Now, telling the public about it, what was the gain? What do we know? We're supposed to be aware of them and be, try to hide ourselves or what?
Yeah, I mean, it maybe also just shows the failure in, certain standard operating procedures that, some of these agencies have. But human trafficking, I wasn't expecting to hear that in 2025. I mean, if we 2024, we heard about the Lakorawa, which was a new terror group in Sokoto and Kebbi. We've heard about Boko Haram, ISWAP. These are all terror groups. So, human trafficking is a new angle entirely. From what you know, how bad is, that particular situation in Nigeria? How much of a transit route is Nigeria for human trafficking? Do we have very scary figures of people who are trafficked from Nigeria to other countries?
Yes, if we have to zero it down to human trafficking, I think Nigeria is a very, very hot spot for human trafficking. In fact, it is not even human trafficking. It descends to human organ trafficking. And of course we just got a new case some days ago, was it last week or so, where a guy was supposed to have allegedly killed his girlfriend, and then of course cut her to pieces, and then was arrested when he was taking the head to somewhere in a nylon bag. Now, yes, that, two aspects to this. One is using people for rituals, and that's where you find a lot of people missing, and then of course being killed and their parts being sold. Besides rituals, some of these parts are also sold, even transported overseas. Kidneys, liver, all kinds of human parts, internal organs that are being sold for heavy sums of money. So those are the two parts, and it is a big problem in Nigeria. I don't think people have even actually looked into it, because I still don't know. I've still not heard of arrests. I've not heard of any prosecution.
But why is that? Why? Because it's a thing that I still want to speak a little bit more on. Why is it that there is whispers that there's a possibility of human part, trafficking or marketing in Nigeria? Some places, some people would even say that there are certain markets, in the southwest that you can buy human parts, you can buy skulls and different parts. Why are these things happening in whispers? At this point, shouldn't we as a nation, be certain on investigative work that has been carried out, maybe by the DSS, by the police, by whichever other security agency, to bust some of these rings if they truly exist?
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question, and in fact, I hope that the DSS will go into this, because usually when we are talking of national security, we are also talking of the security of the human being in Nigeria. But you are very right. There are human parts markets. For those people who are into traditional medicine and stuff like that, we've lived with this for years, even before independence. During electioneering periods, we have people who go and meet witch doctors, do human sacrifices, bathe in blood, and of course, from what you've been hearing, which I also heard, even in Lagos, there might be some areas in certain markets, where human parts are being sold. And I think the security agents will do very, very well to, point their torchlight into that. I know they are busy with other things, but this is an area that really concerns the dignity and life of the Nigerian citizen.
Let's look at a state of emergency, which I know a lot of persons have called for. Do you think it's high time that the federal government or this administration calls for a state of emergency on insecurity by taking it headlong, tackling it headlong, and putting the right modalities in place, ensuring that every focus is given so that a lot can be achieved at this point? Because the way in which we're going, we're starting to see splinter groups from pre-existing terrorist groups, and then we're also starting to see new ones rear ugly heads from different parts. We see, like Osarge said, we did see Lakorawa from last year. Now we also have another one, and who says we will not have another one or three more before the year comes to an end? So do you think we should declare, the government should declare a state of emergency at this point?
Well, I think the state of emergency should be declared on all these insurgent groups, the insurgent groups, religious groups, like I said earlier, Nigeria is a secular state, and religion, freedom of religion is a right. It's a fundamental human rights of Nigerians, but it is not absolute. It's not absolute at all, because when you come to, in fact, what is happening in Nigeria is not even a matter of state of emergency. I think this is a time for us to put some boundaries, some guidelines to religious practice in Nigeria. Because when you look at all the insurgents group, most of them started from religion. The Lakurawas are all religious group. When they first came into Nigeria, they were very, very quiet, and then of course live among the communities, and then suddenly they started brandishing weapons and stuff like that. So I think there should be some kind of regulation where these religious groups should register. In fact, let them register, so that there should be boundaries. Want to even know their tax responsibility. Many of them, religion, churches, mosques, they don't pay, taxes. So any Tom, Dick, or Harry can come up tomorrow, put up a canopy, and then start something. And that should be wrong, because I think in other countries there are standard religions that are known by government. It's not anybody that will come and try to bamboozle the citizens of a country, and then of course brainwash them to be doing all kinds of eating grass, doing all kinds of things. In East Africa it's even worse. So I think there should be some kind of regulation, and then make sure that these people don't abuse the human rights of Nigerians.
But the Nigerian government itself needs to, see the urgency with which it should be taking these things, and I don't know that we're there yet. Even with the repeated shocking stories that we hear, Amnesty International reported about 147 lives that were taken, and buried in Borno State from the attack on the 12th of January. There wasn't any national statement or statement made from the presidency or anything like that. In fact, if Amnesty International didn't even put out that report, many Nigerians wouldn't even know that the numbers were that staggering. And so, I mean, the country itself doesn't seem to, take these things that seriously anymore. Where would you say we are right now, after 15 years of the fight against insurgency? Where would you say we are currently?
I think we're at a point where government need to pay more attention to the humans or to the citizens of this country. We cannot continue like this. The life of a single Nigerian should matter. It should matter, because we cannot reduce it to numbers. In fact, 2 years ago, I remember a situation where, the state government, I think, or the community came out to say that there were about 100 people that were killed, and the police came out and said, no, it is not 100, it is 75, It does not matter whether it is one, lives matters, and we cannot allow people to be, coming out and, killing people anyhow. We cannot reduce it to tribal wars or ethnic fights, and that's why I'm saying that our criminal justice system must brace up. They must brace up, in the sense that if all these killings are happening and people are being arrested and prosecuted and jailed and shamed, I think it will be a form of deterrence.
Yeah, but Mr. Amachree, we've been fighting this fight for 15 years. It's heartbreaking to hear that after 15 years, of battling the insurgency, you can still lose 147 citizens in one day in 2025. 147, and for me, I don't know, if any other person can interpret it different, but it really just says that there's not really so much, success that has been recorded. Yes, every now and then we hear that bandits were attacked by the army and, 12, 40, were killed and whatnot. But does it mean that these bandits are, 200,000, in number, and of course the terror groups as well, because we've been killing them for so long. It doesn't seem to be changing much, with the number of Nigerians' lives that are being lost. Bama was it Bama now? So the forward operating base was attacked also a couple of weeks ago. About a couple of soldiers were reportedly killed. So it doesn't sound like we have made that much progress. And it's worrisome for me, and I'm sure for a lot of Nigerians. So what do you think needs to change? Is it funding? Is it the operational processes of, security? Do we need to increase the budget of, for defense every year? What exactly needs to happen for the Tinubu administration to say to itself that by 2027, it was able to secure Nigeria?
Well, that's a $1 million question, and I can tell you that it's a concern for security professionals like myself and others, where we've been fighting this for decades. And when we look at it, it's becoming more complicated than meets the eye of the ordinary person, because why should we continue to fight this war? Why? Abacha said that if there's an insurgency or, and it's not put down in 24 hours, then there must be fifth columnists in that fight. And of course, even when Jonathan was there, he said it, that there must be some people from Boko Haram who are in his government, and then of course we've seen a situation where it's not funding. It's not funding because the military has been given a lot of money. What we need is a judicious usage of that money, because a lot of the money has been stolen. A general has been arrested with millions, and jailed. And the economy, the war economy, so to say, is a very lucrative economy, whereby a lot of people are involved in it.
Yeah, Mr. Amachree, that's very obvious, and it's not, unfortunately it's lucrative, and it has continued, maybe that's the reason that we've continued to fight this fight, that this never-ending fight. But we have a new administration that should be able to say to itself that this is one of the promises that we've made to Nigerians, and we will fulfill this promise by the time we're leaving office in 2027. And so shouldn't Mr. President be worried that 2 years into his administration, we still lost 147 people? Shouldn't he be summoning the heads of security agencies across the country this morning to ask them what exactly is going on? What do they need? Do they need more money? Do they need more ammunition? Who is maybe misusing these funds? Shouldn't it bother Mr. President and the National Assembly that we lost 147 Nigerians?
Well, that question will go to the president himself, but as a security professional who is observing it or with a bird's eye view, I would say that, number one, the security agencies, more than before, are doing better now. They are doing better. I think there is some kind of synergy where intelligence is being shared properly. And then, of course, I know that there are new technology that are being deployed. And, of course, you have AI, artificial intelligence, being deployed for the first time, in Nigeria during this fight by the DSS. And then, of course, the military itself is now working together, and they're working all under the National Security Advisor. But one thing is that let's not reduce it to the pyramidal situation again, because the National Security Advisor is an advisory body, although it's supposed to be a clearinghouse of intelligence, and it should be an advisory body to the president. The other operational bodies like the Army, Navy, Air Force, DSS, police, are supposed to be reporting directly to the president. But he creates that fusion center where intelligence is being shared among everybody. Because recently I've been seeing situations where there are operational arms or operational departments in the National Security Advisor's office, and I think we don't want to duplicate or put things overlapping in the security arena. That brings me to the point where we have to be talking with one voice. The security agencies should be talking in one voice and not discordant voices where the police is doing its own thing, and then of course the other arms are also doing their own thing. So I think there should be some unity of purpose where we get this thing straightened out.
We'll take your word for it. There should be unity of purpose. And hopefully, in that sad event that took place, as reported by Amnesty International, there would be some form of a closure, finding out who these perpetrators were, even though they've been identified as Boko Haram. And hopefully we'll get back to this conversation with glad tidings, finding out that our security operatives have been able to reach a closure on that story. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Dennis Amachree, for taking time to join us this morning. Thanks for being here on Breakfast Central.
Thank you very much for having me.
For your time.